Well, a war zone or a conflict zone of some sort, I would suspect.
Well, the gentleman here was right on. He said Croatia, okay, Bosnia, Kosovo, okay. What you have here is a typical situation that occurred many times, actually, in Bosnia and Kosovo. And what this is two groups of military here. These actually are Americans here, and these over here, well, I'm sorry, the Americans are over here. These actually are Danish troops. And they're in between two groups of people. In this case, it's Serbs and Bosnians, okay? And this scene during the conflict in Bosnia and Kosovo took place hundreds, if not thousands of times. And inevitably, you know, there were one group on one side, one group on the other side, and they were upset about something. And the people who found themselves in the middle were soldiers from many different countries, actually. They came from Arab countries, Jordan, other countries, in addition to a number of European countries, and every single time they were caught in the middle. Because the situation was that the Serbs, you know, had moved, or rather the Croats, let's say, had moved out of their farms because they were forced out. A Croat family or Serb family moved in, and the Croat family comes back and says, I want my farm back. All right, now who gets the farm? Okay, the person may have lived there for several years. It could be a case of let's say, schools, where the Bosnian children say, I don't want to go to school with the Serbian children. And the people who were caught in the middle were basically very small unit leaders. These are platoons. Platoons are groups of maybe 30 to 40 soldiers, led by a young lieutenant. The young lieutenant could have gone to ROTC or West Point or OCS, any number of different ways to become an officer, but they found themselves in positions that I assure you they never anticipated. I mean, how do you control the garbage pickup for a small village? And you got to work it so that the driver of the garbage truck, who's a Serbian, is afraid to drive into the Croat side of town, and if you don't do something, you have garbage pile up. Now that's a very real issue, and I think the only way that these young officers, we're talking about young people in their 20s, 23, 24, 25 years old, men and women, were able to somehow work out was this whole idea of values. What is the right thing to do? In order to do that, you have to have an education. You have to have not just training where you know what to do in a certain situation, because in this situation, there's no way they would have anticipated trying to work out the garbage collection in the middle of a Bosnian town. So they had to have an education and a basic sense of values. The armed forces, there's 5 basic values: integrity, courage, selfless service, competence, devotion to duty. I don't think I missed any, but they're pretty basic, which you would consider understandable. And you can imagine the difficulty it is, though, to take 1.5 million young people from all different parts of the United States, from all different religions or no religion, and to try to instill in them some basic set of values when they find themselves far away from Houston, Texas, in the middle of a Bosnian town with only 20 other soldiers, that they act in such a way that leadership and values takes place. Now, the goodness of this whole situation is that, you know, this took place thousands of times, and yet in Bosnia and Kosovo, there was not a single situation in which these troops opened fire on any civilians. It simply did not occur. And that's a tremendous tribute to our young people who found themselves in a very difficult situation, and yet were able to work their way through this. So again, young people, 23, 24, 25 years old, in charge. And again, because there are platoons, there was no, high-ranking officers, shall we say, around to mess things up. Actually, I'm sure they did much better without them. Okay, now this is a different. Anyone guess what this picture is? Not so much important as to what the picture is in terms of actually what's going on, though. What do you think is happening here?
Teaching.
The teaching, or what country do you think this is?
Pakistan.
Afghanistan. Okay, it's Afghanistan. And what's taking place in Afghanistan? Of course, we can again debate the morality and so on. I'm more looking at what's happening to young people. And what is happening there in thousands of different ways is that the real conflict is taking place. And not just the conflict, but the peacekeeping that's taking place is not taking place by generals and admirals, these higher ranking officers. What's taking place is again at the lowest possible level. And this is a picture of, actually, this is a civilian who is teaching English to a group of Afghan men, as you can see. So what is happening here, if you look carefully at Afghanistan, at the conflict itself, although what you read about is the IEDs that take place, unfortunately, but aside from that, what is taking place in thousands of different locations is this type of action with a young person, often a lieutenant, a sergeant, who lives in a village with the people there and does things as basic as teaching them English, digging a well, opening a rural school, any number of things without any supervision. And this too requires tremendous sense of values of how do you deal with these situations that you never ever anticipated. And I could go into Iraq, we go in any situation that you'd find the same thing. Okay, so what does this mean? Well, I think it means this. You want to try to explain that graph for me? I want to take a guess.
You've got lower level people doing more of the, on a higher level of VUCA.
Great, you said it just right. That's got to fill your stomach. VUCA. Very good, very good. That's exactly right. I think if you look at the world today and what the world's going to be like, that there's going to be young people who are very, again, teachers, middle managers, who find themselves in this uncertain, complex, ambiguous world far sooner than people ever imagined. And there's, again, lots of reasons for that. One is the media. If you do something wrong, be it the military, or for that matter, let's say in a classroom, where you overlook perhaps or guilty of discrimination in some way, let's say, and there's an incident in the classroom, that teacher, I guarantee you, will be in the middle of the spotlight, the media spotlight, the next day. So media will take an event, which up to now perhaps people didn't know about, somewhere around the world, or in a classroom, or in a corporate business room, or boardroom, and magnify quickly, so that these individuals, who again are very junior in terms of their position, and suddenly you're going to hear about it and read about it to an object of great interest. I mean, if you start shredding papers or shredding documents,